And it's almost Merry Christmas time, even
No,
though
we can't give up on Thanksgiving.
I know Thanksgiving is this week, so we'll say Happy Thanksgiving at the end. I want to start out with a little anecdote, and Marty doesn't know about this.
No, you're only doing this so you don't forget. That's all.
I know, I would forget. I don't know about any of the rest of you, but I do watch baking shows. It is in my genetics. I don't know why, but
Look
I do
at us and you wonder. Yes, we
Yes.
watch baking shows.
But I do like the British baking show, and I've been watching it while I've been sewing. And I always, every time I watch any baking show, and you know how they get to the end because it's always a timed thing, and they're like, oh my God, I'm not going to finish. Oh, I'm not going to finish. Oh, I'm not going to finish. And you look at them and say, you dumb twits, don't you know what you got to do in that certain amount of time? Well, as I was frantically binding last night, I said to myself, you stupid twit, didn't you know you had to have these done in time? So we are all of that mindset.
We're all guilty of it.
Yes, we're all guilty of it, but we all try to do too much. So this goes back to my comment last week. If you can't get it done for this Christmas, try for next Christmas. Give it to them as a Valentine's Day gift. We always thought that tree skirts make a great
Hedgehog Day or Groundhog Day?
Groundhog Day. They make a great gift, a wedding gift, or a shower gift, because everybody needs one, pretty much. So anyways, this week, after all that all long thing, we are doing tree skirts. So what we're going to start with...
And mostly we got pretty easy tree skirts.
Oh my gosh.
You figure we got all 7 of these done in...
2.5, 3 days.
There you go.
Yeah. We started cutting these out on Friday.
That's why we look the way we look, people.
That's right. Be impressed. Be very
That's why I'm behind the camera.
So we're going to start over here. And the thing is we did try to do fairly easy ones, but we still think that they're very, very impressive and pretty. So this one is called Charming Little Christmas. Reason being, you start off with a charm pack. So these are your 5-inch squares. So that's all you did. I mean, talk about easy peasy. These don't have to be cut down or anything. So you take these, you cut a little bit of background and cornerstones. That's all it is. I mean, this took me sometimes, and you can tell just that Marty and I are getting a little tired and loopy, how many cartoons I go through. I think this is one movie cartoon, and I got the whole top done. So anyways, that tells you how quickly it went to it. Do the binding, and we're going to talk about bindings before we go today, because that's really a pretty integral part of what your tree skirt is.
Terry, why don't you, as we go along, can you give a size? Because size,
Yes, I can.
contrary to what the size does matter.
Okay. This one is 41 square.
Okay.
And actually, this one we have for possibly Craig, our nephew who moved to Florida and has a new Christmas tree, new apartment. He needs a smaller one. So this would be really good. I'll have to show you on one of these patterns. She actually has, I don't know if you saw, Marty.
There's 3 different
She has 3 different sizes, and she has, for this tree, this size, you use this size. I don't know how she figured that out. But anyways, so this is a nice apartment size. If you wanted it, you could crop the corners. You could do any of that stuff.
Not all Christmas trees need to be round.
That's exactly right. So this one is called Charming Little Christmas. So that's that one. This was a Moda fabric, Moda Charm Square.
What was the name of that one? Was it? Sorry.
This was last year's Christmas. Warm Winter Wishes.
Yep.
Anything
Holly
will work,
Taylor.
obviously. Holly Taylor. Okay.
Okay.
Then we go to this one. This one is called Tree Skirt Star. I was going to say scar. Star. And this is, if you look at this, half square triangles, 3 fabrics.
This took me less than an episode of Leverage to get done.
You can see how we mark the time in our lives. So this is Tree Skirt, Little Star. This one is 54 square. So that's a little bit bigger for, obviously, a little taller.
But easy, people.
taller,
Easy,
yes.
easy. As you said, half square triangles, and look at the
Yep,
big
and
center square.
And a big center square, yeah.
I mean, there's no points on this, no inset points. It's all half square triangles.
And I would also like to point out to these two, any of these Christmas tree skirts that we did could be a table topper.
Right.
If you just, neglected to cut this and cut this, you could, and we did that on one of these, you could have a really nice table topper. So that's another option also. So this one just needs a binding, and there it goes. This one is called Christmas Magic Tree Skirt. This one I think was a little bit more work, but not horrid.
It was a little
Once
bit
you
more
start-
time consuming.
Yes.
This was 2 episodes of Leverage. But it really wasn't hard.
Yeah.
Really wasn't hard.
And it's basically you start, and there's a template. It tells you how to cut this center diamond. Or no, this is I don't know what shape that is.
A
what? I don't know what it's
not a
called
trapezoid.
anyways. But
Yeah.
anyways, you cut that and it's a log cabin.
But you did it the smart way because Terry had all these kits pre-cut out for when we sat down to sew these. She copied it onto freezer paper, cut it out of freezer paper, and then ironed it onto a stack of them, and then cut all of them out at the same time.
Freezer paper can be your friend for more than just applique. It is. It worked out really well. I did it. I ironed it onto the top of the stack, and I cut them all out.
And the
at
same
once.
thing with those background diamonds also.
Oh, these guys.
Yeah, which those are not elongated. There's actually a seam right down
Yes,
through the
there's
middle
a
of those
seam.
guys.
So it goes on here.
Yeah.
And this one we used a Huffman Jingle Pop. So this one is a little bit more metallic. We've kind of got.
But all the strips were pre-cut too, so that was a big time saver.
Yes. This is kind of a little bit more contemporary. This is a little bit more farmhouse. This is glitzy.
Yeah.
So that's got a little bit of gold. And then this one over here
I'm going back one more. Going back to the Christmas star there. You saying that's more farmhouse. I liked that one because everybody was like, okay, I'll either have to go gold or I have to go silver.
Right.
No, this one has silver and gold. And let me get a little bit closer and you can see that background print is a beautiful silver metallic. And then there's gold dots in the red.
And then this is just a nice
plain. I mean, it doesn't have any
traditional.
metallic in it at all.
No. So you can mix silver and gold, even
Yeah.
though it makes me crazy.
Isn't there a song about that?
Silver and gold. I don't know.
I don't remember the rest of it.
To them.
No.
Okay, so this one now is called Country Christmas, and this was a Reilly Blake jelly roll. Now the only difference with this one, because we really wanted to use this for this design, is this calls for, there's a fuzz on there, this calls for a 2-inch strip. So what do? You cut your jelly roll down. It was not a big deal to do that. And that's all it was. You cut it down.
That is gorgeous. I love that tree skirt.
Yeah, this is one of Marty's favorites. And we used it, if you want to come up a little bit closer, Marty, you can tell. We used, and we did that on a couple, a stripe for the binding. This was not part of this, but that's okay. It went beautifully with it. Very understated. Again, a little bit more country.
Yeah,
and that one is
definitely a farmhouse.
Yeah, that's called Country Christmas. Well, the jelly roll is called Farmhouse, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Farmhouse Christmas.
Farmhouse Christmas.
Yes. So that one, again, this one was not tough. Because all it was, it was straight sewing and snowballing.
Log cabin and basically.
Not even log, kind of
kind
like
of
a
a
log
log
cabin
cabin.
block. Yeah, because this is your block, kind of. So you have your center square, you sew on a sew on, sew on a sew on, snowball the corners. There you go. That was it. Was that all?
Yeah.
Okay. So then we're going to show you this one. I'll hold it up. Now this one,
Looks hard.
oh my gosh, it looks so hard in this.
Look
was
at all
so
those triangles.
easy. This was so easy to do. Again, there wasn't even a template on this. It showed you how to cut. The only piece you have to weirdly cut is this one. And you start out with a rectangle and cut it like they tell you. And I'm sorry, Bob's your uncle. It's almost
I was
done.
waiting for that.
I know, I had to say it. This was so easy because you started out with, you started out with a rectangle, you cut this. So you sewed this piece onto this piece, straight seam. There was no inset seam. And then you have these big triangles. You sew that onto the triangle, sew your wedges together and so on. This one we're thinking could be as a tabletop or
That would
instead
be
of
very pretty.
Yeah, instead of a tree skirt. I think it almost would lose something if we started whacking up the spinning stars, which that one is called Spinning Star. Yep, Spinning Star Tree Skirt. Now another thing we should mention, for those of you who have cats and probably dogs too, my cats, the favorite part of Christmas for them is when you get the tree skirt under the tree, because their little furry butts are right under there faster than you can say Bob's your uncle. So we don't even bother trying to tie or Velcro or button our tree skirt around the tree
Mine
skirt.
has nothing to do with my animal. Mine is that I'm not going to crawl my large fanny underneath that tree back there to tie it.
Right. So you can put ties on any of these. We did not.
Ties,
choose
buttons,
not to.
Velcro, whatever you want to
Yeah,
do.
you
Or
can
you
put
just fold it
something
over
else.
each other like I do.
Yeah, you just flop them over. And that's
You'll
what
thank me for that one.
this one does. And look at the colors on this compared to what we
Just
did.
nasty.
But you see that there's little ties right there if you want to go to that extreme, I guess you would say. All right. So that one is 54. I forgot to tell you. This one was 48. This one was pretty big too. This one was that 54?
Yeah.
52.
Yeah.
52. So they're right around 40 to 50 inches, whatever.
And the other thing is, guys, is we have kits on the website for all of these guys, and we're also offering you an option of backing, which we really kind of cut down the price on the backing because I mean that's
You can make it reversible.
you can make it exactly, and that's why I was looking because going back to your spinning star there, Terry,
I'll come
that
back
one
up.
is very plain, but if you look at the back, it's gorgeous.
Everybody loves the cardinal.
That's a gorgeous cardinal print.
And if halfway through the season your cat hair is so thick on the front that you can't stand it, you take it out, flip it over, and let the rest of the season go. Sans cat hair.
We kept pretty
That was
plain
just
on
a
that
little
one.
one. Yeah, that
Little
was
holly.
just a little print. What we do on
This one I loved because it
Oh,
was
we
just
went
very
silver.
silver on the back.
Yeah, we went very silver. And on this one, we just
A
went a
very
nice
red
burgundy
snowflake.
reddish. Okay, so we did that
So
one.
backing is an option for them. They have
Yes.
to drop down on the website.
Right. Now this one is called Holly Jolly Tree Skirt. This again was a very, very simple, quick one to do. There we go. And you can kind of get the idea.
This is the one I think that they did the multiple size
Yes,
ones.
they did. And she tells you right on there, if your tree is 9 foot, you should have it this big. If your tree is 7 foot, you should have it this big. So anyways, this is the medium size. And you just start out with 4.5 inch strips and you cut.
You make stratas.
You make stratas. She tells you how to cut them. She tells you how to sew them. You sew the wedges together. On this one, I very simply quilted it in the ditch. It could probably use a little bit more, but again, it's Christmas. It's not going to be used and abused. And then again, everybody loves a cardinal.
Mm-hmm.
If you leave your tree up long, you can put that out after Christmas. So that one is called Holly Jolly Tree Skirt. Now the last one we're going to show you, do you count that seven that we did? This is the last one we're going to show you, and this one was called
Funky 4.
Funky 4. And the reason that is this is like one of those wonky things where you start out with a square and then you cut it and then you flip pieces under and you cut it again. So this one again, Marty and I sewed on this one Saturday, and we had the blocks done within half hour.
Half hour.
Half hour.
Yeah.
She was pressing, I was pressing and sewing, and I was cutting.
Yep.
So
This one is so easy.
So it's just a block that you make that's got 4 pieces in it. We chose not to because the pattern actually, which we can't
remember
find
we couldn't
where it
find
was.
it. Yeah.
The pattern actually has you making enough of this fabric to make this tree skirt with enough to make stockings also. We chose not to do that because I think it called for a layer cake, didn't it?
Yes.
A layer cake, and we decided not to do this, so we made up our own 25 or 26 whatever layer
25.
cake so that we could make this. And this one is just every nice little Christmas print with metallic. Most of, everything does have metallic.
Dots. You got cardinals,
Right.
poinsettias.
Now what we're going to do on this one is we're going to show you a couple things. Now we want to, I hope we're not getting too long.
No,
We
we're
want
doing
to
good.
show you, can I pull this off the way?
Mhm.
Or do you want to do the circle first?
No, we can do that. Whichever
gonna do
way
it?
you want. That's okay.
You do that. So okay. So Marty's going to flip the phone/camera to me, and try not to show too much of the mess in here. So you what?
Oh, so this one is a circular. So what you would do, I mean, you guys have,
Everybody's
as kids,
done this.
we've always done this. You find the middle. This is a 5 block, so it's your third block in is the middle. You find the middle of that one, you put a pin in it. You get a string with a pencil on it, and you go around for your, you have your radius, and you go all the way around, and there's your skirt. You cut out your circle. And the thing is because the thing is you're going to be having quite a bit left over. Don't let these go.
Make a little ornament or a topper.
hot pad.
A hot pad. There you go.
You can do a hot pad out of these guys. So, and again, throw some cotton batting in it, and that will help protect it. And if you want, I mean, again, this is so scrappy. You could sew the 4 of them together, get a bigger one. Again, throw some Insulbrite in the bottom of it, and you've got a really insulated hot pad. So that's how you want to do. How you do the circular one.
The big outside
Yes.
circle.
Yeah. So, and the thing is you want to measure from here. So if they tell you it's 42 inches and that comes to here, no, go all the way out to the edge.
Yes, use it up.
Use
Now,
it
before
up.
you do that, do you want to show them how to do the center circle?
Oh,
Remember how I talked you all into buying, or some of you into buying this, and I said you will use it? Here's another reason to use it.
so again, you find your middle, and you can see on these guys that it's got these bridge pieces that hold everything together.
The like 4
But
quadrants.
it's nice
yeah.
that they have it in quadrants, so those are actually where you would lay your, you could lay them on your seam lines, or you draw, I think you can see on this one, I drew a blue line and put it in there.
Mm-hmm.
So then you would go ahead and mark your circle. And then what I like to do, especially if you have one like this one, where you're cutting up a seam. Hang on just a second here. I have to grab my piece back here.
And you have to be kind of careful. If you have an artificial tree, you do not need a huge hole. Don't make a huge hole.
No.
If
Even if you have I have a real tree and I don't
Right.
have like a huge hole.
Right. I know the one that I actually read the pattern, they called for a 5-inch hole.
Yeah.
A 5-inch diameter circle.
So when I did this one, whoops, I marked my center. But when I cut my piece, what I did is I cut up and then 1/4 of an inch away, I cut again. So you kind of have like the circle with a tail on it.
Mm-hmm.
What that does for me, this just came off, is it will give you a little bit of space there. Number one, your binding is going to take that up.
Right.
And number two, it gets rid of that seam allowance so that when you're sewing the binding on, it doesn't kill your hand. So you're never going to know, you're never
I see
going to
what you
miss
mean.
that 1/4 of an inch is gone. But it just makes it so much easier when you do your binding. So you just have to
Okay.
have a circle with a little tail on it. So again, using your template, mark your circle. And usually, and it's funny because Terry and I were talking about this morning. On the patterns, they'll tell you, don't sew one seam. No, sew them up.
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't.
Oh, I don't, because I've tried doing it both ways, and it's so much easier if you just complete the whole thing, quilt it, and then recut it
Oh,
again.
that's true. Yes.
It's way easier rather than trying to lay it out
And have it flopping.
and having it flopping. It just doesn't work as easy.
Okay.
So then once you have your circle cut, now because you have a circle, you have to have some bias binding. Now, you can either make the whole thing bias binding, which is cool, which Terry
I did it
actually
on
this
that one.
You have to have bias binding for the circle. If you try putting straight binding on this, it's going to just be
was.
awful.
But I liked it because even out here
Right,
then,
you get the pattern.
yeah, you had the nice diagonal on the
Right.
stripe. Okay.
But if you don't, I mean, even, yeah, you did on, no, we didn't on this
No, we
one.
didn't on that one.
Right, so this one, we put the bias in the center, but then the rest of it we wanted straight. So all you've got to make sure you do is when you are putting your binding on, you have like the first 26, 27 inches, which will get you up and around normally and a little bit down. About 27 inches will do you,
That
and
seems
then
a lot.
I know, but I
Oh.
measured. And then the rest of it can all be straight. So you would then start here, go around your binding, and then right back around. But let me show you how I did that, because it worked out really easy. I found that except for the really big ones, that guy and that guy, because they had 4,000 points to it, that usually a 1/2 yard of binding will do you. So what I did is I'll take my 1/2 yards. For the bigger ones, I went 5/8. Is you take, now this one I probably would cut them all bias just because it's a stripe.
Yeah.
But let's pretend for a second that it is just plain. So what I wanted to do is I'm going to take my ruler that has a 45-degree mark on it. I'm going to lay it on the bottom of my fabric, and I'm just going to cut off a little bit of a triangle. And then what I found worked well is we used 2.5 inch wide, is I cut off 3 pieces. So if I'm going to cut my 3 pieces, so that's bias, that's bias. I would cut 1 more, and then the rest of it I would go back and cut straight. So this will get you around the center circle, and then the rest of it I would just fold it back and do straight binding like we normally do. And then you just have to remember when you sew it on, start with the bias piece.
And go around the center.
Go around the circle first, then go around the rest of it and come back to where you met. So that's how you can still have that bias binding without having to do the whole thing bias binding if you don't want to.
Right.
This one, again, we said we're probably going to, and I'll probably just keep whacking it up into 2.5 inch strips
I
like
don't know
I
if
did.
I would. Well, we'll have to discuss it.
I know,
decide
we'll
that.
have to see.
Yes, we'll have to see.
But
It does take a little longer to do bias binding, without a
it
doubt.
does.
Without
It
a
does.
doubt, but
But you
sometimes
don't have
it's
to do the
necessary.
Fold,
Right.
fold,
Or
fold,
that
fold.
stupid continuous
Yeah, or
binding
the
thing
tube
that's
and all that nonsense. For
that's worth-
small projects like this, it's really it's very
Yeah.
it's a time suck.
right.
So, is there anything else we need to do?
You
Was
put
that all
more,
the
25
pieces?
more FFFs.
25 more fabulous fabric finds are on the site. All of the kits for the tree skirts that we showed you today are there with a backing option if you want.
Are we going to have one next week? We should
Yeah.
try.
Yes, we know what we're doing next
Oh,
week.
that's right. We kind of do.
Yeah, we know.
Sort
but-
of.
and
Yeah.
it's even started and,
And it's mostly
finished.
done. It's mostly
But
done.
that's okay. You're going to love next week. It's gonna be
Yeah,
very
next
cool.
week is going to be very nice.
Okay, so have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, please do. Enjoy if you have family, yay. If you don't have family, sometimes that's enjoyable too, so you don't have to fuss with them.
Sure, you're not supposed to say that in front of your sister.
I said some family. No,
Yeah.
our family is wonderful, and it's wonderful if and when we get together, which is not
You have a
often.
good time. All right.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.